Hello all drum and bass enthusiasts, welcome back to another episode of How to DNB with Inverse Audio. My name is 5X and today we've got a special treat for all the Jump Up fans out there. Today we're going to be covering how to DNB like Amplify. We're going to explore how he creates his high energy bass driven tracks that will guarantee to get your bass face going. Now as always, make sure you smash that like button. Can we get 100 likes? Subscribe to the channel, all support is massively appreciated. Leave a comment on what you want to see next, and without any further ado, let's get right into the video. Alright, let's kick things off with the foundation of any jump up track, the drums. Amplify is known for creating punchy and energetic drum patterns that are guaranteed to get the crowd bouncing. Here's what you need to keep in mind when crafting your drum section. Amplify often goes for samples with tight and snappy transient. Look for drums that pack a punch, particularly in the kick and snare department. Layering different samples can add depth and character to your beats. Sending these layered elements to a bus and adding compression with a tiny bit of saturation can make all the difference here. Jump Up Drum and Bass is known for having its syncopated rhythms and fast-paced breaks. Experiment with offbeat hi-hats, ghost notes, and layering top loops that keep the energy flowing. It is important to use your ears and trust your instincts. For Amplify light drums, I've gone for a heavy kick. I've layered 3 snares together. I'll play them separately first. I've used this one for the transient, and then I've used these 2 for the spectral image. I've gone for 2 different hi-hats, one playing every beat, and one playing every 2 beats. Together it sounds like. I've also added in a tom, and a few fills right at the end. Here's the drum groove together. If you want drum samples like these and many more, go over to inverseaudio.co.uk where you can purchase Inverse Audio Presents Drum and Bass Volume 1 with over 120 serum presets and 550 total files with everything you need to level up your drum and bass production game. We also have 2 free packs, so make sure you go check those out. Now let's move on to the heart and soul of Jump Up Drum and Bass, the bass.
Yeah, boy.
Amplify's bass lines are notorious for the gritty, aggressive, and downright dirty sound. Here's how you can achieve that signature growl. Start by selecting waveforms that have a harmonically rich content. Square waves and sawtooth waves are popular choices for creating these roaring bass sounds. Experiment with different combinations to find your unique flavor. Amplify loves to modulate his bass lines using techniques like FM synthesis and wavetable scanning. Automating filters to achieve a nice womp shape is essential. Dive into your synthesizer's modulation options, automate parameters, and explore the wild side of sound design. Layering multiple bass sounds can add depth and complexity to your track, but remember to carve out the space in the frequency spectrum for each layer. Use EQ and filtering to sculpt the sound, and don't shy away from distortion and saturation to add that extra grit. Amplify likes to use a variation of bass lines within his tracks. Here's what I've managed to come up for this one. I'll play them all together at first, and then I'll break them down individually. So the first bass that I've made is a womp. Essentially the way that this sound works is using this LFO1 shape set to an envelope at 1/4 rate. I've automated this to the level of both oscillators, to the sub, the noise, and to the cutoff. This controls the womp. That all comes from this shape here. I've set the first oscillator to -1 octaves and the second one to +1, just to spread it across the spectrum. In the effects, I've added a really hard distortion, chorus, a compressor, and an EQ. It moves along with LFO1. I've also added FM from B, but an interesting technique that you can do is cut off all the frequencies before they get to the effects tab. Using a filter, quite an aggressive one, so I've gone for MG Low 24. And then I've reintroduced those harmonics by adding distortion in. This can give you a unique sound. I'm going to show you just how easy it is to make your own womps. Set oscillator A to a sine wave at -2 octaves. Then on oscillator B, also set it to a sine wave. Set it to +1 octaves. Then I'm going to take LFO1 and move it to the levels of oscillator A and B. Adjust the shape. Set it to envelope or trigger. Next, we're going to drive this all the way up, turn it to 24, turn it for B as well, and make a slight. There we go. Going to add in some FM. And then, like I said before, we're going to reintroduce those harmonics using a big distortion. From there, you can add an effect such as a chorus, multi-band compressor, turn the highs down, and an EQ. And there you go, how to make a simple womp. The next sound is this roller. Now this essentially works in the same way as you can see, -2 and +1. But this one, it's going up 7 semitones, and it's got 2 LFOs. One of them's controlling the levels and the cutoff, whilst the other one is also controlling the cutoff and the bend. So as this one is set to a bar, this one is going fast at an 1/8. You can see how that opens it up. And on the effects, I've just got a heavy distortion, bit of hyper, chorus, a multiband compressor, reverb, and EQ. Or EQ is actually not doing anything, but it's pretty much the same as the other one. The only difference is being this shape. And you can hear how that affects the sound. Underneath that, I've got a sub from a sample pack, which is just repeating the bass notes. The next sound that I've got here is this wobble bass, and I'll show you how to make that. Set to a sine wave at -2, then find a harmonically rich wavetable. I'm going to go for Monster 2, pitch this down 2 octaves. And we're looking for a sound similar to this. Next, you're going to set a band filter and assign this to an 1/8, of course, at trigger. You don't want a lot of movement here. Turn up the drive and resonance. Next, take your LFO1 and do this to the levels of oscillator A and B. And then we're nearly there. We're just going to add in some unison, hyper, distortion, compression is optional. But yeah, that is the basic sound. Maybe a bit of chorus. And that, in context, sounds like... And this last sound that I've got here is actually a splice preset, I believe. It's just sort of a square bass. In the second phrase here, I've got some more basses. This one works the same as the roller, but it's going downwards instead of up. And this is the last bass I'm going to show you, the screamer. So the way that this one works, you're going to notice a bit of a pattern here. -2, +2, +5, distortion. Then we're going to automate this, and you'll see. There you go. Now we're going to set this to 16th triplet. And what we're going to do here is we're going to take envelope 2, automate it to the Y level. So when we play this, it will rise up. And there you go. Maybe adding some extra effects if you like. But that is how you make that screamer bass. In context with the drums, that sounds like... Now that we've covered the drums and bass, let's talk about the arrangement and the creative use of effects to enhance the overall impact of the jump up track. Jump up tracks are known for the high energy and consistent drive. Keep your arrangement dynamic by introducing variations, breakdowns, and build-ups to keep the listener engaged. Experiment with different structural elements to create tension and release. Amplify loves to play around with effects to create unique soundscapes. Delays, reverbs, phases, and distortions can transform your sounds and add excitement to your track. Don't be afraid to experiment and push the boundaries. So now next, we're going to go over the intro, the vocals, and the arrangement overall. To start off with, I included a hi-hat every bar with a bit of reverb on it. I then proceeded to layer 2 atmospheres. These are both from my sample pack. And then next, I found this flute from Arcade. This is what it sounds like. As you can hear, it's very nice, it's ambient, and it gives the track a bit of melodic movement. Moving on, we've added in some impacts, some sweeps, and some horn stabs. That intro together sounds like... The next element which I added was this vocal that I found on Splice. and then a little choppy one just before the drop. Pretty basic, self-explanatory, just something to hype the crowd up. And then the last element for this track that I added was this reach bass. Let me break it down for you. Consists of these two saw world waves at different wavetable positions. One of them is up by 65, the other one's up by 7, and then we've got a sub as well. That's what gives it that wobble, because these two are detuned and they're going at slightly different rates. And then I also have this peak filter, which is set to key track. Also, if you're wondering how to get that sliding sound, it's by turning on legato and mono and setting your portamento time. On the effects, I've just got a bit of distortion, chorus, filter, EQ, and compression. And there you have it, folks. We've taken a deep dive into Amplify's jump up drum and bass production techniques. Remember, these are just starting points for you to explore and make your own. Feel free to experiment, break the rules, and let your creativity flow. If you enjoyed this video and want more content like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell to stay up to date with all future episodes. Keep the bass heavy and the beats rolling. This is Inverse Audio signing off.